Welcome to Great Talk and Entertainment. I'm your host, KJ, and this is the YouTube channel where I review movies and TV shows from all your favorite superheroes, including Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and much more. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talk and Entertainment Official Channel. Now let's go, baby. Welcome back to the YouTube channel, everyone. My name is KJ, and I am the host, and today's spoiler review is the new series on Disney Plus by Marvel Television, Wonder Man Episode 4 spoiler review. If you have not seen this show yet, please pause this. But before you go, could you hit the thumbs up button, aka the like button? That would help my YouTube channel out, and I appreciate that. Go watch it, come back, and let me know in the comments below what you think about episode 4 of Wonder Man. So again, this is a spoiler review. Y'all been warned. Now, let's get it. This episode is about a man named Dumar, aka Doorman. And this is pretty much his origin story, how he became Doorman. And this whole episode is just like a callback from Episode 3, when Simon explains to Trevor why nobody can know why he has superpowers because of the Doorman clause. Because once upon a time, Dumar used to be a bouncer for a club, and he was the one that would always wait in front, and people would wait in line, and they'd check your ID and let you in. And so that's the type of bouncer he is, and of course he probably helped out, like as you see him, helped out, like take out the trash, clean up, whatever, just jobs that you would do at a job like that. Then we get introduced to celebrity Josh Gad, and throughout this episode, we see so many like references to Frozen and Olaf. And it was just so funny. And, he's famous. And I thought it was pretty interesting in a way where, I felt like they were going to shy away from having celebrities exist in the MCU in that particular way. Now, let's roll it back real quick. Now, in She-Hulk, we had Megan Thee Stallion. And then in the Guardian of the Galaxy holiday special, we had Kevin Bacon, right? And so it's not unnew, but I thought in that time before this show that they were going to somewhat shy away from actually having celebrities in the MCU, like just a famous actor that or a famous musician, pop artist, whatever, just exist like them like in real life, but they're going back to this, which again, it's not a big deal, totally fine. I was just shocked because I remember there's a lot of negativity about it from what I read and what people have said on the internet, obviously, but to me, I think this was really cool. This is funny. And I don't think there's nothing wrong with that at all, to be completely honest. Because it just gives you an idea, like, here's the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Your favorite Marvel characters do actually listen to the set type of music you listen to. And it gives you that more modern, update society look. So it totally makes sense to me. And it's not a big deal. And of course, it totally makes sense because it's in Hollywood, California. California, LA, baby. So I totally get it. And again, not a big deal. But I really like seeing Josh Gad in here. Throughout this episode, he was just really funny. And boy, what a way he went at the end. But I really like just seeing him. But he's the reason why that helped make Dumar, aka the Doorman, famous, because through that night, Dumar went go outside, and we see some like black goo by the garbage can, and this is not like a symbiote, aka Venom, nothing like that, right? But it's just black goo. Now, here's something interesting about this that has a huge connection, a little Marvel Easter egg, which is the MCU has introduced the Dark Force dimension. This is the same source as Tyrone's power from the an old series from Marvel called Cloak and Dagger series. And this is the same ability that, pretty much helped, give him the powers. Because when we see Dumar go in there, he's like freaking out. He's actually in there. And then he wakes up in his apartment. And then, weird things like his dog must have, jumped on him and stuff. And he ended up in another person's apartment. And of course, he hears his dog barking, and it scares this innocent woman. She was just taking a shower, right? And she's like, "Oh my God, there's somebody in my house." Totally makes sense, right? But that's what Tyrone from Cloak and Dagger series, that's his ability is stems from. And I thought this was a cool Easter egg or a hint that Cloak and Dagger are not so far away. They do exist in the MCU. I don't know if they're going to use those particular actor and actresses who played Cloak and Dagger, but it is a sign that they're going to run it back, but this time do give it the Marvel Cinematic Universe introduction to it, like they have for, Daredevil, Punisher, and now Jessica Jones in season 2 of Daredevil Born Again season 2. And so they're gonna run it back with them, with these characters that were on Netflix, but Cloak and Dagger was on cable, and just not exclusively, but the way you could watch it was on Hulu the next day type deal. But at that time in that era, they never really claimed. They kind of did and they kind of did not. So they did and didn't at the same time say it was connected to the MCU. But they, again, this was a time where they were really just jumping back and forth with those shows, because in that time that it was just more of, then this is way before the Disney Plus streaming service existed, but I think it was in the process of becoming what it is today. But these shows weren't just like the Netflix Marvel shows from Punisher, Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and so forth. Cloak and Daggers was no exception. They kind of thought they wanted it to connect, and then Kevin Feige didn't want them connected to their cinematic universe, just in case. It doesn't fit his story. It didn't fit the Russo brothers' story, right? So it all has to connect now. But the fact that they sharing this story, which I thought was really cool. But again, to see Doorman now in the MCU and show why he's the reason why that you can't be a Hollywood actor or actress because of the mistake he made, which we'll get back into. But what I think about that little clue of just showing this, and then again from the Cloak and Dagger reference of this, of Tyrone's power, stems from this, because it's just like a dark dimension, kind of like a door. Like it's like the thing in between, like the waiting room in a way, right? If you were going to a doctor, you would wait in the waiting room, but then you go to the doctor. So, it was something like that. That's how they're trying to set it up in a way. But that's where it stems from. And again, I think what I'm getting at is I think that these are the next, I think Cloak and Dagger are potentially the next characters that for maybe the next Marvel phase or maybe just after Avengers Secret Wars, these are characters that they may focus on the most next. Maybe or maybe not, but at least the idea of seeing Tyrone being introduced in the MCU, this is the first setup of it. And and I'll get more into it why that could be. So, and then again, he goes in there, he figures out, and then one night he's Dumar is just doing his job, and then all suddenly Josh Gad is celebrating, but Dumar's boss, she's like, "Hey, wait a little bit before you let people in. We're really close to breaking the law of a fire hazard. Like, there's a limit of people that can be in the club of your building for obviously safety reasons, but because it's a celebrity, she's gonna turn the other cheek around." But she told Dumar, like, "Hey, just chill now. Wait about an hour or so, and then let people in." And then that's the idea of it. So what happened is, obviously, the worst of the worst happened. Things, some equipment, some stuff caught on fire. People were freaking out. And what happens? Everybody ran to the same door. People got jammed. And luckily, Dumar used his new ability, which he went through the door, freaked people out. But he's like, "Hey, just run through me, guys, and you guys are going to be safe." And who takes the first leap of faith? Josh Gad. And he, in a funny way, it pops his head back. I was like, "Come on, guys. Come on. You can trust him. This is it." And everybody does it. And you can see it took a toll on him, just having that much. And for Dumar, this is like a untapped thing. Like, he doesn't know, like, his limitations yet, which he does later at the end of this episode. But we're seeing this, and this is where his Hollywood acting career begins, because he hangs out with Josh Gad. He gets him in. People want to do business with him, and things start looking good. And then he starts doing movies. And then he gets his first role. Then he's becoming famous. Then he's doing commercials, funny commercials, not so funny. And then he had like a catchphrase like "ding dong," right? Or "ding ding ding," something like that. I forget. But then we see the downfall as he's drinking more because he's spending all his money, and then he's becoming more unpopular, and then everything he's owned now, he can't pay his rent, he can't pay his car payment. Things are just not looking good for this man because he's getting boring, right? And of course, people are, getting ready for the new thing, and this is just the downfall of 15 minutes of fame. And so he gets this one more chance, and they're doing a sequel to a movie that he did with Josh Gad. And he's drunk, he's unprofessional, and they're shooting the scene where they're, they grabbed all the money and they're driving the bank truck, and Josh Gad runs through Dumar, aka Doorman, and he doesn't go out the other way. He stayed trapped in Dumar's body, is how they're presenting it, and yeah, and then they locked him up in the rift or the raft, I think, whatever it is. But it was whatever General Ross or the damage control department who are looking for Wonder Man and trying to arrest him. One of those two have him because of this, and this what caused it. And we see that Simon is like on a set of like ER or Scrubs, like he's playing a nurse or a doctor, and he's in like his Hollywood actor studio chair, and he's on his phone. He's like shocked, like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And that's where we learn, like, after he saw that video, he's like, "Yeah, I can't tell nobody about my superpower. And you know what I thought? And that's how this episode ended. Now, I know a lot of people said episode 4 is their favorite because, again, they introduced a Marvel character that nobody would ever thought about thinking that there's a chance that they would do this character. But Doorman is a big leap of faith of taking a chance on a brand new character where the mainstream fans have no idea who he is. And they even showed, in one of the scenes, they have Dumar wear his comic book outfit as Doorman, which is just, it's kind of like an all-black suit like Spider-Man, but without the Spider-Man stuff. But he wears like a brown coat or raincoat type thing, like you'd see a detective or like Sherlock Holmes would wear, but he wears that. And you know, they obviously did a different take on him, not a little bit similar, but just a little, but the origin story is quite a little bit different, because in the comic books it's way much a little bit darker, a little bit more sad of how he actually has it. But the general idea is the goo. He found the goo. You know, and that's what it was. But it was actually more painful. It was actually more dark. It was actually more scarier experience for him when he first interacted with it. And I don't know a lot about it, but I am going to be working on a video about him, so be on the lookout for that. But I just know in general, like, they really, not really, but they did change his origin story just a little bit differently. It's about the similar to it, but just a little bit different. For example, he can actually, if he puts his mind to it, he can actually go from a different state to a whole nother state, and he can actually go into a whole like multiverse. He can go to a whole complete different universe. Because the question is, you know, the where is Josh Gad at? And realistically, he's probably somewhere in the same universe on Earth 616. And this is just the realistic idea of general where I think he's on Earth 616, the MCU. And I think he's just somewhere else. Like, I think he's in a different state. Like, in a small, like, outside of America. Like, I can just imagine him on an island, or maybe in the Philippines, or maybe in Russia. Just somewhere else. Something random, something funny, right? Or since, you know, based off the Frozen and Olaf reference from this show, from him, I can imagine he's in like Alaska or the South Pole or the North Pole, somewhere cold, basically, with a lot of snow. And I can imagine him being there, you know, just as a Disney Frozen reference, which I truly believe they're going to do a season 2 for this show. But I could see that. I can see it, like, and I'm not saying they can answer that question in other Marvel projects, like a movie or another Disney Plus show, but I can imagine he's somewhere just random and it's funny. Like, because his whole bit in this show was very comedy-like, so I'm sure there's a comical answer or where he's at. Or, here's my off-the-rail, you know, Marvel theory is he went into a multiverse and he's in a different universe. Like, he's on a different Earth, like the Fantastic Four, or where Deadpool and Wolverine in that universe, something like that. And I think like this, now I'm not saying Doctor Doom's gonna run into him, but I think he's in a different universe like that. And I would believe it'd be like where the Fantastic Four is at in that universe, that Earth, which I forgot the number to that, so I apologize. But that's where I can see that if they wanted to go far. But again, that's just a theory of mine of if they really wanted to do something really big and storyline purpose-wise with that Josh Gad issue with Doorman. So I could see that too, but realistically, it's again, I think he's just somewhere safe in a funny comedy way. He's just chilling basically. Now I did like the black and white because again, this is it really fits like Doorman, and it made me think of the Spider-Man called Spider-Man or Spider-Man Noir. I think that's what it is. And I know they're doing an Amazon live, or they're doing a live action of that as Spider-Man Noir. And I know Nicolas Cage is playing him. And I know this is going to be on Amazon Prime. So I'm not saying that those two are going to connect. But it reminds me of like what they're going to go with that show on Amazon Prime. When I forgot when they're going to release it, but they're going to release it, I think this year or next year. But that's the kind of prime, no pun intended, but that's the kind of example of what they're going to do with that particular Spider-Man. Again, he's in a different universe. But I'm not saying Josh Gad's going to show up in that and pay off to this show. I don't think they're doing that, but I can see the idea of it being potentially a possibility because of Doorman's black and white. That's the only reason why I thought that, but I liked it just because it was just a good feel, and with his power, that's all he kind of sees is just black and white, because it's his ability, and that's kind of like his curse. So I like that. I like that idea of it. But was it my favorite episode? No. I think for me, it was my favorite episode. Like, it was the better one, but it wasn't my personal favorite. I think episode 8 is my favorite, obviously, but I would go episode 6 and then episode 8 for sure. But other than that, this was definitely a good episode, and I like this. Here's the 3 things I like about this episode. Number 1, it gave a good background, a good origin story. Because I know in the past, Kevin Feige said that he doesn't want to do a lot of origin stories. And I know why he said that, because we're getting the X-Men. We're getting the Fantastic Four. We're getting Deadpool again. Instead of doing an origin story with Deadpool, they just continue on from what Deadpool has done. Same thing with Wolverine. And it looks like from the Avengers Doomsday teaser trailer, it looks like they're not going to start an origin story per se with the X-Men like that as well. And again, they didn't do a reboot with Daredevil Born Again. Like, it's not an origin story of Daredevil. This is a more well-established Daredevil. So I get why Kevin Feige said that, because of those type of characters. But with Doorman, this like small origin story was refreshing to see, and it was just nice to see it, because again, this is a character that's not popular with the mainstream audience who watch the Marvel shows and movies, the casual fans, as most people call them. But it was just so nice to see an origin story. So number 1, it was just nice to see an origin story. Number 2, the thing I liked about this is they really explain Simon Williams' issue, his dilemma, the thing that reason why he's so stressed out, the reason why he's very picky and maybe comes off as a dick sometimes, around other people on set. But it just gives you a reason why he's the way he is, and he has to be this secret about it, and why he's so stressed out, why small things worry him because of this situation, because this could happen to him, Wonder Man. This could be Wonder Man's fate if he gets caught, using his superpowers. Like, if the wrong person saw him use it, they're in trouble. So, there's two, and then the third thing I like about this, the last thing I can say I liked about this episode was that this was their, usually episode 4 to me is like their the filler episode. But this one, I feel like they really put some time and effort and at least gave it a good meaning, a good reason to show all that origin story, and a really good reason why, this is what's causing Simon Williams to be the way he is when he comes to auditioning for roles. So they really, again, I can tell everybody put a lot of time and effort to make sure this episode was well produced, well directed, well edited, and it made sense. So those are the three things that are very important that I thought that I liked about it. And I can just tell the dedication in that particular episode. So I really enjoyed it. And it was just fun to watch. Again, really good. I honestly, again, episode 4 is not my particular favorite in the sense of it, but I have to give it high praise because, man, they really knocked this out, and what a good episode. What a good episode. So if I had to give this a 1 out of 10, I'm going to definitely give it a 7.5. This was really good. It was told well. It had a good explanation to, the why Simon is the way he is when it comes to audition. But it also introduced a new character, and we got a little origin story, which is very cool. And it's nice to see that again where they're at in the phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, again, I said this before in the non-spoiler review. This is a good side quest story. Like, it just fits so well in the MCU and it's so refreshing. So I am definitely loving this show. But that is my spoiler review for episode 4. Let me know in the comments below what you think about episode 4 of Wonder Man. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment official channel. Subscribe, hit that notification button so you can always be updated with all my latest content. Thank you guys, and peace out.